Maranatha Faith Center began with 4 members in 1980. Over a 19-year period, Maranatha would grow to become one of the largest African American churches in the Golden Triangle. Maranatha's food pantry subsidized over 500 households twice a month with much needed food. The church regularly sent clothing and money to an impoverished Haitian orphanage. Maranatha led the community in the revitalization of the Lowndes County NAACP. The ministry of Maranatha gave hope to an underserved community with educational outreach programs, tutorial programs, computer literacy programs, and even rides to work for single mothers trying desperately to escape the cycle of poverty and welfare. In 1999, Maranatha Faith Center began an ambitious expansion and rebuilding plan that would allow their ministry to expand, to bring help to more people in the community that desperately needed faith and hope.
In 1998, the church had a vision. Well, the pastor had a vision to build a new facility for us.
But when we started to expand the church, that was a very exciting moment because we had just bought some extra land to the church that's on the north side of the church. So we had enough room to do what we needed to do, and we wanted to stay right here because this was the best place for us, right in the middle of a community.
And we were excited about, the vision that God had given Pastor James concerning the people.
My original thoughts were when we first noticed the substance was that it was a foreign substance. We had no idea what it could be, but it had a very strong smell. It was very caused a lot of irritation to the skin. Our eyes were running. It just seemed unnatural. Whatever it was, it didn't seem like anything that should be there.
Well, when I first heard that the property was contaminated, it was kind of a setback, a blow, and we still had that anxiousness about it.
So when the contamination occurred, we just thought it was going to be something that was going to be rectified right away. And since it didn't happen like that, of course, it's been ongoing forever now.
When I heard that there was contamination on the property, it was like something had fallen apart.
When I first heard about the contamination, well, at first I was upset, because I didn't understand why this was done.
Rivers of Creosote have left that plant.
And all the water would run down toward Maranatha to the church.
On the one hand, you've got these big corporations over here. On the other hand, you've got this small faith center and a very dynamic, vibrant minister standing up against them.
Cover it up. Cover it up and keep going.
We done a lot of cover-up work.
Which is their tradition. Let's cover it up.
Throw some gravel on it, throw some dirt over it, and cover it up.
Put some fresh dirt over it, cover it up, nobody knows it.
My supervisor, Donnie Yarbrough, covered it up.
And they'll just cover it up with sawdust and dirt.
Constantly bringing in new material to cover up.
Cover it up and keep going.
Sure, it was coming to private policies to cover it up.
Kerr-McGee plant manager Ron Murphy is fully aware of some of the conclusions that many people are making against Kerr-McGee over land contamination lawsuits in Columbus. One being that because Kerr-McGee employees have remained publicly silent, it must mean they have something to hide.
It's partially our fault for not coming out and telling our story. I think, Karen, that there's a good story here to be told with Kerr-McGee. And there's the impression, of course, and if I was on the outside looking and saying, yes, I would think Kerr-McGee's guilty of something. We've harmed no one. We felt that in the past, my feeling has been that they've not wanted to handle this lawsuit in the media and fight the case in the media.
Ron says with the recent announcement of a $50 million settlement in one of the cases, he wants to publicly defend Kerr-McGee on behalf of himself and all the other Columbus employees of the plant, and that the settlement is not an admission of guilt.
We're just very proud of what we have out here at the plant, and it's, you know, we're not proud of the fact that we're paying out $50 million. I'll tell you that. I don't feel good about that, but because we haven't hurt anybody, we don't feel like. You know, we're worried about our jobs, quite frankly. I mean, if you were a company and had to pay out $50 million, what would you think? You know, the community, does the community want your business? We feel it's in the best interest to settle this right now and end it and not keep spending more money on investigations and litigation, keep dragging this thing out. It's like a chess game, Karen. I'm not a lawyer, and I can't tell you what's happening behind the scenes. I can't speak for those people, but we're hoping to put this behind us and go on about our lives and continue to work here and produce a product in Columbus, Mississippi. Kerr-McGee's not harmed anyone, and our employees are well looked after as far as the hygiene. The community's been protected.
Okay, well, like when you first got to work, going in the gate at Kerr-McGee, we used to walk through Creosote about ankle deep all day, and that was basically just walking in Creosote all the time.
Oh, there's no telling how many hundreds of gallons or even thousands of gallons is in that ground.
What does that creosote do in the ground?
It just soaks into the groundwater. That's why they have all those wells sunk in everywhere, to keep monitoring their groundwater, and they'll pull out the samples they want.
Behind the office, when I first started it, they had a big old hole dig, like a big pond. And they used to dump all their chemicals and all their stuff in that big pond, creosote and everything, the barrels, the everything, gasoline, motor oil, diesel fuel, antifreeze, you name it.
So they would just dump it behind in a pit?
Yeah, in a pit. It looked like a big fish pond.
Man, it's just so much, because we used to pull wood. I used to we used to go back at night pull wood too. But we used to pull wood every day, and when we had to take wood to the pine yard, it'd be dripping. When I be pushing it, wherever I push it, it'll leave a screen. It'll leave a little black screen, you know. This mostly every day.
For 18 years?
18 years. 18 years. Every day.
They was doing all this stuff and they were still trying to put it on the people who sold them the plant. But a lot of that wasn't true. A lot of they was doing it themselves. It didn't have nothing to do with the people before them.
What do you mean?
Majority of the time when you talk to them, they want to put it on moss tire. But whatever moss tire put in the ground didn't have nothing to do with what we put in the ground.
What kind of stuff did y'all put in the ground?
Creosote itself.
Was that standard practice? Yeah. I mean,
when I started at Kerr-McGee in '94, they had a building. They called it Tramming Building. Inside that building, there was a pit. In '94, they didn't even have a used oil container. In that pit is where we dumped all the used oil.
When you say oil, you mean creosote?
In '89. Creosote.
Okay.
Hydraulic oil, antifreeze, all that went in that pit.
And that was on the property?
And in '94, my supervisor, Donnie Yarbrough, covered it up with sand and had the people come out and they just cemented over it. And it's in the ground now.
We seen a pocket of black creosote after moving these ties that were sitting on the yard for so long. We had to move them in because they implemented a new way of stacking and sitting the ties down. So as we were moving the old ones, of course they've been there a while, you've seen this large hole. It was an indentation of the property where the black creosote was sitting. And we contacted our supervisor with me at the time with Keith Rogers and Pine Yard supervisor Keith Falcon, because he no longer works there anymore. And then it would be, of course, Ron Murphy, the plant manager. Those persons I remember walking onto the area and looking, noticing that it was black liquid creosote, no mistaking it. We were told to get barrels. We got barrels to hold contaminants. So we had to get shovels and, of course, your protective equipment and basically dig it out manually. As we were digging along, we digging in the creosote and dirt, which is contaminated, filling up one container. We're working on our second one, filled that one up until we got to a third, 2.5, we were working on that, and we were finding no end of it. It was still liquid. It wasn't just